Hello everybody, I'm Jalen, and today in my first build tutorial ever I'm going to take you through all the steps to build this really cool starter base here that'll not only make you want to stay in the area but stay in your world for that matter. I feel like oftentimes we use the term starter base to give us an excuse to put in a little less effort and just think, oh, I'll get to something bigger later. But I know I'm not the only one who ends up just staying in my starter base for quite a while. So I've started putting a little more effort into it, realizing it's where I spent most of my time, and it's definitely been worth it. And we're going to pack a whole lot into this today. We're going to not only get the basic structure in and a basic interior in, but we'll also come back and add some finer exterior details and a little bit of terraforming at the end. And finding a cool spot is very important as well. Definitely worth doing some searching so you're not wanting to move too soon. And yeah, you saw me clear the area a little bit. We're just going to jump right in, starting with a 11 by 13 rectangle, which is going to be the main portion of the build, so you want to make sure that it's located exactly where you want it. Then I attach a couple wings to it, go to the corner here and go 2 in, and then I go out 4, 5 across, and then 4 to get back, so it ends up being 7 wide total. Then I wanted to do a tower on the other side, so once again, starting 2 in, and then I put 1, and then I go 3 across, angle 1, 3 across, angle 1, and you can see how you get a little bit of a circle here. 3 across, angle 1. It's a little 7 diameter circle. And once you get this down, you've got the basic footprint, so you can start bringing your walls up. For the main section, I end up going 5 high, but you want all your sections to be at different heights. So for the side section, I just went up 4, and then for the tower, I ended up going up 6 total. So you got them all at different heights, and that's just one thing that will make a building look a lot better rather than just having everything all at the same level. Once I liked that, I started putting the trim on, just going around and topping off all my walls with some spruce. And again, I'm stealing this color palette from my base in my stream only world. I just really like it. I figured for my first tutorial, might as well take it with me. Now that we got the trim on, I went ahead and started bringing the walls up on the second floor. And for these ones, I'm cutting off the corners. And I'm also going up 1 more. So for the second floor in the main section, I'm going up 6 high. You want it just a little taller than the base area on the bottom. Then the tower I raised by 9 more blocks. So it ends up being 4 blocks higher than the main section of the building. And again, just getting the different heights on your sections of the building is what makes a base look cool. And I got placing the trims on top of these walls again, extending over the corner on this one because I'm putting in fences in this corner here just to add an interesting shape to the build. And I should mention I'm building this just like a wooden survival. I'm just working on getting the basic structure up and the layout, and we'll come back and change a few things up and really detail things like this patio, for example. I just wanted to get something in so it's there. And then once I get the basic layout in, we'll come back and really add some details. So I went around all the trim and put a half slab on the top half, so everything is extended by a slab all the way around on all the trim. Now it's about time to get going on a roof, which is one of the most important parts of the build. So skipping 1, you go a stair and then an upside down stair behind it. And just get used to this pattern. Going up 1 block and then doing it again. Stair, stair behind. Now we're going up 2 blocks. And then again, stair, stair behind. Now we're going up 3 blocks. Stair, stair behind, and 1 last time, 3 more blocks. And you can adjust how many blocks you want to put between as you go. I end up with a pretty tall roof here, but I kind of like that. And we repeat the process on the other side and meet them in the middle. And some might think this is a little overkill for a starter base, but this is more of a long-term starter base. You can figure I had already made a hidey hole at this point, or a dirt hut, to spend my first couple days and get organized. This is just my first big build project in the new world. And as always, putting the roof in is really when the character starts to come to your build, so it's definitely worth a little extra effort to have a really cool roof. Repeat the process on the other side. Then I needed to get going on a nice roof for the tower here. So on the outside, on the half a slab, you start by just going up 2 blocks and then a stair. And then just a block behind it, it ends up getting covered anyway. And then 2 more blocks, stair, block behind. 3 blocks this time, stair. And then 3 more again. We're going for tall roofs. It's worth it in the end. So now I just go all the way around my little tower here until they meet, and then I use stairs to bring them all together, and we got a cool little steeple roof there. And then for the little section sticking out on the side, we're going for a flatter roof. So we're going up a slab and up another slab, however you can make that work. And then 2 stairs. So slab, slab, stair, stair. Do it on the other side. And now all 3 of our sections have different style of roofs. So even though it's a fairly simple layout, we're starting to get an interesting shape to our building here. And now we're going to get filling the face of the roof with some packed ice, which I've just recently discovered is a block I really like. And I just think it works really well with this color palette. Obviously, you can mix and match and change your color palette, and it'll change the vibe of the building. You can make this building look so different just by changing the blocks you use, but I think this packed ice, spruce, pale oak, and granite's just a really cool combo. I am just realizing that packed ice does require silk touch, so that might not be truly a starter block, but you can switch that out with anything you want. Then it got time to fill in the roof. So we just extend from one side to the other. Kind of a tedious task, and it takes a lot of materials, but well worth it. And then on the top, we use spruce for kind of the spine of the build here. And like I said, this is just round 1 of the roof. We'll be coming back later, and you can always step it up from here, but just getting the roof in feels good. Then for the one on the side, we had kind of some funkiness to work with here, so you'll see I just kind of shape it until I feel like it looks good. We had to cover up that little bit of blue ice, so we end up with a bit of a wonky shape, but I don't think it's too bad. You can do that however you want there. And then for the tower here, it's just a matter of getting the angle in. Then I went up 3 high, all the way around, and then just fill the corners. So you'll see I just fill all the corners. And then on those blocks that you filled the corners with, you go up 3 more. Once again, fill the corners of those. Then you go up 3 more. And then for these types of roofs, I like to go through with some walls and just put some toppers. So on the top level, I actually go up 3 more. But then on all the other ones, I just put 1 wall just to kind of round things off a little bit. And at this point, we've got the basic structure of our building in. So from where we go from here, you can go in lots of different directions as far as how you lay out the doors and the windows, but I'm just going to skip 2 blocks of granite and then do a 2 wide door and 2 more blocks and a 2x2 square for a window. And then up top, just kind of, you can mix and match and change these as you go. I like to try to break symmetry a certain amount. Sometimes I'll do something symmetrical, but I like to just keep things a little different. And then on the tower, I'm going 3 tall window on the bottom and 4 tall on top. And skipping an extra block at the bottom on top, so you got a little extra space. And yeah, just go around and plan out a few windows. As well as a door coming out of what will eventually be my bedroom. It's always nice to have a front and a back door. And then I put a window in here, but I was kind of still debating on how I was going to figure the interior out. So for the top and the bottom here, I wasn't quite ready to decide what I wanted to do yet. Got a couple more on the tower here, and I did put a one more beam of spruce on the outside of the tower, just on the bottom level, just kind of add to the structure and give a little more shape, as well as putting a rounded window in the packed ice up here. And we'll do something cool with that here in a second, but yeah, started putting in the glass. I'm using white stained glass for the top level with the pale oak. I just think it looks good. And we'll do something different with the packed ice window. And then on the bottom, I'm just using the regular clear glass. Now, the clear glass does give the little grid. I like the white glass sometimes because you don't see the lines as much. But I think it's kind of cool having the two different types of glass in here. So I just went around and filled in the windows, including getting one installed in the top level here. I kind of figured I had a plan for what I wanted to do in there and figured I could commit at this point. And for the windows in the packed ice, I went with kind of a stained glass effect. Went with the full white glass blocks and some yellow panes, and you can use different colors. Sometimes I'll go with like glazed terracottas and just different solid blocks to get the stained glass effect, but I think this looks cool. I know it's real simple, but I wanted it to be subtle. Then as far as trims, I took the blocks surrounding the doorway out and replaced them with spruce just to give it a bit of a frame, and then just, again, using stairs, just kind of made a little roof on top. A couple fences just to add a little detail, and got to extend the porch as far back as you need to go, and yeah, nice simple door. And for the windows, I started by just going around and putting dirt under all of them because I do like to just put flower pots under all my windows. I probably do it almost too much. And I put in the stained glass window on the other side while I was at it. Then I went around and just started getting some frames around the windows and little decorations. And I pretty much just use stairs and slabs and doors, which I'm using the pale oak doors for all my flower pots. I just think it's a good way to bring all my blocks together since I got the pale oak on the top level. Even on the top level, I'm using the pale oak. But yeah, I pretty much just use slabs and stairs and fences just because I want everything to be rendered in when I'm flying in from a distance. And I feel like trapdoors just take too long sometimes. It's gotten a lot better, but it's just a habit I've gotten into. I still use them for the pots though. And then it's just a matter of repeating the process on all the windows. Changing some up, like for example on the upper level of the tower, I used a stair on the little roof here instead of all slabs. Just little things like that here and there. And I mixed in the spruce fences, just bringing all the blocks together I thought was cool. And I didn't put a flower pot here. I guess I should call it a planter box because I will actually put a flower pot there. But yeah, on the stained glass windows, I like to get them rounded off, so I just go with some stairs and just put them all around the side. You can see the upside down on the bottom portion. Wrong way there. And then use some trap doors on the top just to round it off a little bit so it's not quite so blocky, and I think that looks way cooler from a distance, and it's cool getting any round shape in the world you can get. So it took a second just getting all the windows figured out. And you can see the pattern I go with the slabs. I like to try to keep a little space between the slab and the window, try to have a little of the pale oak showing. And then for this window, I went with some shutters, which I thought looked good, but I kept this tower the same all the way around. And like I said, we've got the backside looking pretty decent, but things are liable to change once I start getting my interior figured out. But that's part of building. You got to be ready to change as you go. Now just get some flowers in the planters here. And I usually use 2 tall flowers, going with roses on the top level because I like how they contrast with the pale oak, and then the peonies on the bottom level just because they look good with the granite, I feel like. But at this point, I was feeling pretty good. We'll come back and add some texture and some foliage and do a little landscaping. We got lots of work to do, but if I was in survival, I'd be wanting to move in at this point. So we're going to get a little interior going. Now, in editing, I realized it would just take way too long to really go on the more block-by-block approach and really explain my thinking too much. So we're just going to kind of fly through this, and I do intend to do a full video talking about interiors at some point. But if you really follow along, I do show most of my steps in the order I do things. Starting, of course, with just getting the floors in and some stairs up to the top floor. And I like to hide some chests under my stairs whenever I build stairs like that. Then I just start spreading some chests around my house and my bedroom. Trying to just think of decorating a house though, not just thinking Minecraft and having piles of chests everywhere. And then our enchanting area is built perfect to fit the 15 books in here. And of course a bunch of chests. Got a fireplace put in here, and I built it with the actual bricks, but I end up making it all stone brick here in a bit just because it clashes with the granite so much. Plus I was going to use bricks for the texturing, so. But get a comfy spot to sit and look at the fire, and finally get this window put in. Get a little chimney outside, which is one of the best reasons to have a fireplace. Again, I'm building it with brick the first time, but I end up changing my mind and doing stone brick in just a second. But yeah, a chimney and getting the movement of the smoke at the top is always a big plus on any base. Filled in just a little bit of dirt here. We'll actually be doing some landscaping here in just a second. And got the planter box in front of the window here. And again, using all trapdoors around this one just to make things a little different. Now, we got the back side looking almost cooler than the front side. This is when I decided to change the fireplace out with stone brick. And you always gotta take this brick out so it's not blocking the smoke from going up the chimney. Replace the bricks with stone brick on the outside too, and getting a little bit of gray in the build's kind of a nice contrast. The bricks look good as well. You can do whichever you want. I did a little change on the front door here, knocked out a couple of these blocks and replaced them with upside down stairs and put some trapdoors behind so that I can get this more rounded look on the door here. Which I think looks a little bit cooler. The older way was cool too, but yeah, then I went in and started adding the trims on the inside. I decorate my windows and doors on the inside just like I do on the outside. And then just went around and worked on disguising some of my chests, which I like to do on the bottom floor. I like my bottom floor to have a real homey feel, and try to disguise my chests. And I fixed a couple of the entrances into the enchanting area in my bedroom. And I swapped my furniture out for pale oak and spruce just to make it match things a little better. And just chipped away at the interior. Upstairs, I'm not really doing much at other than just showing you that it's where I would end up having my main bulk storage and just my work area. All of my work stuff. Nice, convenient area to come up and work. And you could do all kinds of things up here. That's one cool thing about having the bigger base, is you got lots of options. You could even put a third floor up there if you wanted. But I do most of my living downstairs, and we've got it all set up. There's plenty of storage here for all you need for quite a while. It takes a second before you even need to start using the upstairs. And with a little editing magic, got some color in with some carpets and some paintings, and I was planning on putting more work into the interior and really going over that, but I discovered in the making of the video it just would take way too long. But I just wanted to show you the functionality and the layout. This nice open lower floor, comfortable to live in, and then you have your upper floors. Nice work area, can turn into your main storage. You could even put a third floor on if you wanted. But just the advantage of going a little bigger with your build, now you got all this space to expand rather than having to build a whole new base in a couple weeks. So I think we're looking really good. But now I wanted to do a little landscaping here, just clean things up a bit, round off some of the corners and just make some of this area not so rough on the edge. Luckily this area was already pretty good, so it was just a matter of going and extending a few areas. And I did change the shape of my patio to just have this little extra shape so it's not just a rectangle. Anytime you can do that, it's always a good tip. But the main thing was just getting the land shaped better. Sometimes extending just to give a little more room to work. Sometimes just cutting off corners. And you can see didn't take much, but it's definitely just a little cleaner, and we got a nice little area to work here. But then I wanted to extend a path off the patio, imagining just coming down here where if I was in survival world I would imagine putting some farms and stuff down here. And we're not going into the paths necessarily, but paths really do a lot to add to your base. But I wanted to get some nice manicured lawn for this house, so I ended up extending the dirt a whole bunch more and just making it easier to work. I should mention, working with these pink petals, super annoying. It's my first time building in a cherry forest, I guess, and you have to get rid of every petal individually. You can't put a block over it. Real annoying. But yeah, got a little lawn mapped out here, and obviously I'm not going block by block with this just because this totally changes based on your world. You want to just be inspired by the generation that's there. And I really like the pale oak for the white picket fence around. And then the final touch is I just use some moss carpets and go in rows, imagining a mowed lawn. And I just think it ends up looking really cool. Real easy detail that just makes the area look so nice. And I'm actually not quite done with that yet, but first I wanted to get some crop fields in, because you can't call it a starter base without some crop fields. And I end up going fairly big with this. You don't have to go this big, but like I said, it's worth the time. You end up putting a few more hours in than your typical starter base for sure, but it more than pays for itself with just how happy you are with your area, and having an area that you're really happy with inspires you to stay in your world and build more. So I separate each level by different crops. So I got potatoes on the bottom, carrots in the middle, and wheat on the top. Just a cool shaped little crop field here. Again, that all changes based on where you're building and the shape of the original generation, but I think having the field in front of the house is going to be really cool. But then I decided I wanted a nice mowed lawn on the other side of the house, so I went ahead and encircled it. This one I got the lawn going in the other direction, as well as I just put a little patio on the back entrance here. Getting a little lazy on the details at this point, but I do figure I've shown the concepts for the most part. And I just think having the mowed grass is always a really cool idea. And I'm really happy with how we got things looking here. It'll look cooler as the crops grow in here, but I did want to get some spruce trees as a backdrop. And even just the vanilla spruce trees end up really making a difference. And you can come back and make some of these custom trees, and that would really make a difference. And at this point, I'm feeling pretty good about the base. If I was in a survival world, I would probably move on to a little bit of a different project and do some other things, but I would always come back and bring it to the next level and start doing that with some texturing. And with buildings this size, I'm mainly just thinking about lighting. I like to get some lighter blocks on the outsides of the windows. That's kind of the main thing. And then I go around and just put some random little pops of color in there just to make everything not so smooth. It's too small to do a gradient or anything, so I just pick a second block and start mixing it in. And it is a fairly tedious task, and some people feel like they don't even really notice it that much, but I personally notice it a lot. I always think it definitely brings your build to the next level. And I like to do the same thing on the roof. Just get some lighter blocks up top and kind of around the edges. For this, using cobbled deep slate. And it does a good job of representing the sun just hitting the top of the roof a little extra. You can see I barely have any cobbled deep slate as we go down. So I do the same on the tower, using walls where I need to. And I think it's looking really cool. I just like having, rather than all the one block on the roof, it just looks a little more natural. And I did the other side of the roof just so you know I didn't neglect it, as well as my little bedroom roof. And we're pretty well textured up at this point, and I think it does look really good. But something that will make a more obvious difference, the structure of the building, is extending the roof out a little bit. And I like to start about halfway up and put some upside down stairs like this, and then just continue the roof all the way up. And even just the one block extension looks better, and I think looks good, but I want a little more, so I went up even higher, and just for the very top, we'll go out one more block. Again with the upside down stairs, and then just continue the roof. And you can see this interesting shape we got going on here. But now we have all this extra spruce on the roof, so we need to dig it back a little bit and replace it with the deep slate and the bricks. Get rid of this hard line of spruce. And now we got this interesting shaped roof, which just separates your house from the typical Minecraft house. And for the top here, sometimes this always takes a second to figure out something that you think looks good, and it's just a matter of experimenting. Just mixing stairs and slabs. And I just go until I got a shape I like. And I think this looks pretty decent. Then I like to go and just dig the roof down just a little bit in the middle so you get this kind of sloping effect. Now we just got to match it up on the other side. And while I was at it, I realized I hadn't textured my chimney at all yet, so I mixed some cobbled deep slate into that. Now everything out here has some texture. And yeah, as you can see, like I said earlier, your roof is really what adds some character to your build, and doing this little addition makes it more of a fantasy style roof, but I think it's just really cool. It's one of my favorite styles of roofs. Then I got doing a little work on the tower. I wanted to get a fence on the outside, which I thought just looked cool and added to the structure, and then I decided I just wanted to see what it looked like, putting some fences in all the corners and walls in the corners on the bottom level. And I actually think it ended up looking really good. Just makes the building a little rounder, and the top level just gives that interesting texture going on. So I thought that was a cool addition there. Then I realized I hadn't put any texture on the ice yet, which I'm treating this one more like shadows. So I've got the light blue wool and just putting it in the darker spots. It's actually quite a bit darker than the blue ice, but I think it looks cool. You can really see the shadow effect on that one. And then I went around finally and adding some greenery, and this is something people either do or don't, or do a little less of, a little more of. I tend to go pretty crazy with the leaves. I just think it looks good. I go around and just kind of treat them like a vine and just spread them all around, and a lot of times I end up placing too much the first time, but then I can always go back and clean things up a little bit. But I think going with the effect of the vines just makes it make real world sense. I think it ends up looking pretty good. Get a little bit hanging over the sides. Again, sometimes after resting on it, I'll come back and delete a little bit, but I'm happy for now. Then I went around and on all the corners, I replaced the slab with an upside down stair. So on all the corners of my trim, just go and replace the slab with a stair so that you get this extra little bump on the bottom there. And then around the bottom, I just connected a stair on all the beams, just to give a little shape to the building, makes things not so square. Especially on the outside here with the tower, you can see it just really makes it so it's not just a flat line down the side. I went ahead and put one up on the top here as well. I decided against the very top, but you can see just little things, the leaves included, just break up some of the straight lines, and I think it just looks really good. And lastly, I went around and just some of the edges and replaced with some coarse dirt just as some little flower beds. And last but not least, some light. I've been playing in creative. Didn't even light things up. Lanterns always are the best, and you can get more creative and hide these if you want, but I just went the easy way and got some lamps on, and it looks pretty cool at nighttime. But we'll skip to the day for our last little fly through here, and this is definitely a base you can be comfortable living in for a while, and I can vouch for that since it's the base for my live stream world. And I know it's a lot of work for a starter base, not your typical starter base, and I'm well aware of that. Obviously, this isn't your first little hidey hole starter base, but it's a good first project. I think I had mine built in the first 50 or 60 days in my Minecraft world, so it's doable, and it's worth it. Once you get it built, it's a centerpiece for your world, and it'll inspire you to want to stay. And yeah, just lots of functionality. Like I said, you could add another floor here, put some microfarms up there, big storage on the second level. You got all this room in here as well. You could add some microfarms or more storage or whatever you want. Lots of room to expand. Like I said, I didn't go too hard on the interior just because this video is already way longer than I wanted it to be. Oop, wish I could fly. And yeah, with the crops grown in now, I just think this is a Really cool base. I really like the color palette, but then again, you could build it with completely different blocks and just totally change the vibe. So that's what's so cool about building in Minecraft. So yeah, I really had fun putting this together. I'm curious if this is something you all would like to see more of, this tutorial style video. I'm debating just coming back in this world and add on to this and build new things, farms, windmills, barns, all that. So let me know in the comments and with your likes and subscriptions, and let me know if you like it. And as always, I appreciate you all for coming and have a good day.